Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Sammy Stories. Our first story comes from OP, who had to shoot a burglar and lost his girlfriend over it. Now this story happened several months ago, and I had to wait for everything with the police to be settled and to make sure that there were no charges filed. But let's start off with some background. After I graduated from school, I moved back to the city I grew up in to start my career. Through some new social circles, I met a woman we'll call Sarah. She was awesome, very smart, funny, and we had lots of common interests. We clicked very well. I eventually asked her to be my girlfriend and she said yes. We shared a lot with one another and I found out something about her. She has an extreme aversion to violence. It stems from some stuff she went through when she was younger. Now there is something you should know about me. I've been a hobbyist marksman for a long time and I carry a pistol with me and usually keep it in my nightstand. It's a personal security preference. Sarah knew all of this and she told me it wasn't a problem. We were together for a couple of months before something happened with her housing situation. I think her landlord was doing a full gut and needed the tenants out. Her lease was up and there wasn't much she could do. I told her she could stay with me at my house for as long as she needed. Now I live in a pretty less nice area, but burglary is still not super common. I just got a shit hand dealt to me. The house is pretty nice. I have 2 other housemates. The night of the incident, we were sleeping. It was 2:36 in the morning when I heard a really loud banging on the door. I won't ever forget those numbers on the clock. It sounded like someone was trying to break in. I woke Sarah up and told her to go to the bathroom, lock the door and call the cops. Only a few seconds later I heard the door break open. I peeked into the hallway by my bedroom and I didn't see anything for a few seconds. Then the guy turned the corner. I fired 2 shots center mass and it was some labored breathing for a few seconds and then he was gone. Now, my housemates were away for the weekend, so thankfully someone was spared the hassle of this whole thing. The cops came about 10 to 15 minutes later. They really irritated the hell out of me. Rushed in, hot-headed like some wannabe Captain America douches, and were seemingly upset that there wasn't anyone to shoot. These officers were asking me a bunch of foolish questions like how long I'd lived in the house and how did I know it wasn't just one of my housemates. Well, because my housemates would call me, not kick in the door, duh. I told them that I didn't know the man and that I would be more than happy to cooperate after I had time to sleep and time to consult legal help. Then I would provide a full statement on the incident at the station. I did not sleep the rest of the night and called out of work for the day. The following days weren't easy. I personally was doing fine. I don't really have any guilt over what happened. I've had a really hard time finding it in me to see that guy as anything but a threat, not a person. To me, he was just a threat that had to be dealt with. It may sound callous, but I think that's just how I feel. I want to have sympathy and understanding for what pushes people to do things like this, but when I'm the one being directly impacted, it's so hard. In the end, I didn't even share these feelings with Sarah. Sarah was shaken 6 ways from Sunday. She left to stay with her parents. This is where shit really hit the fan. She called me a couple days later and we talked for a long time and she finally got around to saying that she couldn't do it anymore. The idea that I killed somebody was way too much for her and that we had to call it. I was and I'm still really upset. I lost someone that means a lot to me because some guy couldn't help but break into my house. If that person had made better choices, I would still be with her. What sucks the most is that everything was lining up really nice too. I've got a good job, I have a car, working on saving money for a house, and I had a great partner. And now she's gone. The reality is, I completely understand why she left. I'm just really sad. There's so much I wanted to do with her. She really likes fish and I wanted to take her to the aquarium. You know, maybe one day we'll find our way back to each other. I'm not holding my breath though. It's just been too long with no contact. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I usually love stories. But this one is a bit nuts. The parents of OP's friend broke in and killed her demonic snake. I am 23 currently, and this happened about 2 years ago. I had a 3-year-old fancy corn snake named Popcorn. I invited my friend over. She likes snakes, but her parents are overly Christian and claim that snakes were a sign of the devil. So she had to pretend that she hated them. So anyway, she came over. We talked, fed the snake, played video games, and then she left again. When she got home, she must have told her parents that I had a snake, because about a week later they had snuck in through the living room window, where I kept my snake, opened his enclosure's lid, and grabbed him. The next morning I went downstairs to say good morning to Popcorn, but I noticed he was gone. I wasn't too worried because, well, he was probably hiding. I watched for a bit and then my friend started frantically knocking on my door. I opened it and she looked extremely sad and worried. She told me that her parents had killed Popcorn. I didn't believe her, so I checked his entire enclosure and sure enough, he was gone. I immediately called the cops and she was fortunately arrested for breaking and entering, even though I still believe that they deserved more. Now in the end I did get a new snake, but it's just not the same. Wow, I mean that is just absolutely despicable. I really wonder why people like that even get to procreate. Well, OP did update saying she got revenge by painting pentagrams all over their house, so that is very nice. Rest in peace, little Popcorn. Sometimes moms that want to have the best for their children need to face reality. Sadly, as demonstrated by this next story, that is not always the case. So I work at a special needs school. In this school, certain kids get support, and those kids are usually the ones that have mental disorders like autism, ADHD, or have anger management issues. Anyway, this parent decided that her child is so special that her kid should get support despite the fact that there's nothing wrong with him. Now, I help many kids with their issues, and at this time, I was helping an autistic girl that left 5 to 10 minutes early. Sounds like useless info, but hold on to it. Now, this woman came in and decided that her kid needed support, and the people in the office were more than happy, but they obviously asked, "So, does your child have any mental disabilities?" The mother was so offended that the office lady even alluded to the idea that her sweet daughter had a mental disability.
What? Are you trying to say there's some sort of issue with my daughter?
No, ma'am, it's just that mostly only children with mental disabilities.
My child is not like those autistic kids.
Now, she, as you could expect, did not say autistic kids, and the office ladies were shocked at what this entitled mother had just said. Ma'am, you can't say that.
Oh, I will absolutely get you in so much trouble if you do not get my angel this support.
The entitled parent went on a rampage to this poor office lady who had basically just been hired because I said I could get her a job there, and she decided to get help for this parent. She got 3 people to help her fight back the demon of a parent, while this entitled parent's poor daughter was so scared and looked like she was afraid that she would get in trouble. At this point I was setting music with the girl I was helping, but I got called to the office, which was very annoying. Me, the head teacher and the head of year 9, 10th grade I think, showed up. I was just there to explain how teaching assistants worked.
Finally someone showed up.
Ma'am, I'd like to inform you that while we respect your request, we cannot give your child this support.
Oh, but the autistic kids can.
Once again, didn't call them autistic kids. Why do all these kinds of people hate mentally disabled people? I really want to know. Now, I have mild autism myself, so I just kinda stood there in shock and confusion. Sadly, the entitled parent had the usual blow up and security was called to kick the entitled parent out. However, this entitled parent refused to leave till the security grabbed her by the arms and forcefully dragged her out, as the child was on the verge of tears thinking she was in trouble. As I was calming the daughter down, all that I heard was,
Get off me! My daughter needs that support!
The daughter looked at me and said, Don't worry, I don't. Yes, you do. The daughter then ran off to her mother, as we all kind of laughed and shook our heads. Sadly, about a week and a half later, entitled parent returned with her kid. Now, I wasn't there this time, but the head teacher told me what went down. She had gone to meet with the parent after the incident last time. The entitled parent went on a tangent about how the school system is broken and her child shouldn't suffer for it. It's true, but there's nothing we can personally do. Obviously, she got turned down again, and she went into a mental rampage. Apparently, she began screaming bloody murder at the head teacher to the point where you'd think she was being killed. The head teacher just continued to calmly explain how that wasn't how the system worked at all. Entitled parent wasn't taking any of it though, and continued to screech like a bird. Now, an assisted student walked by, the same one I work with occasionally, to leave as she left 5 minutes early the last session. The head teacher gave her a little wave goodbye, but entitled parent used what little brain cells she had to piece together that this girl had the assistant that she wanted for her daughter. She said word for word,
"I want my child to have her support."
Both the head teacher and the girl apparently froze with disgust as the girl quickly rushed to the exit, reasonably. Ma'am, your child cannot just have her support.
You won't give her any support, so just give hers to someone who needs it.
At this point, the head teacher was fuming and quickly called security again, and she was banned from entering the school unless it was for an emergency or a major issue. She screamed true bloody murder, to which the art classes could even hear. However, the head teacher had her removed and now she's blocked from ever returning. She deserves it, to be fair. Do you guys ever go to McDonald's with a friend or girlfriend that doesn't want anything and then proceeds to eat half your fries? Now what if you have to live with someone like that your whole life? In this next story, Opie has to deal with this exact problem. Oh my god, last night I was craving Chinese food. Before heading out to go buy it, I asked my mom and my brother what they wanted. My little brother was pretty straightforward. However, my mom took some time to think it over. After literally 5 minutes of standing there, staring at her while she tries to figure out what she wants, she says she doesn't want anything. She said that if she gets hungry, she'll make use of an avocado that we had. Knowing how she is, I asked her several times if she was sure. I had a bad headache from not eating earlier in the day, so my patience was wearing quite thin. I said alright, and I left. Came back with me and my brother's meal. As we're eating, she approaches us and begins to pick at our food. Doesn't even ask if she can have some. Just full on starts grabbing it. It was really frustrating me, however, I didn't say anything because I just didn't want to deal with her. She proceeded to go on about how I went outside to buy food for myself and my brother and didn't even think about bringing her back anything. She went on about how hungry she was and continued to pick at our food. She eventually made herself guac with a boiled egg and some plantains. She still made sure to return to eat more of our food though. She even went as far as getting a tortilla and filling it with some of my boneless spare ribs without asking me. I was also actively eating it. She just chuckled when I stared at her. I forgot to mention, to make it worse, even when I got home, I offered her food and she declined. She complained that I get food she does not like to eat and made a point of not wanting to eat it. Wow, well, I just hate when something like that happens, especially if you get certain food that you really like and you get the perfect portion just for you, and then someone that thinks they're entitled to your food because they raised you just takes whatever they want. So annoying to deal with. So, do you think you guys could have handled someone this deluded? Be sure to let me know down in the comments and subscribe for more. See ya.